Self-proclaimed, it's one of Leeds' leading student nights, regularly selling out on tickets every Thursday night. Hosted at the Mez nightclub, Tequila is also one of the city's longest standing, celebrating its 20th birthday earlier this year. If protesters get their way, though, the event wouldn't be celebrating another, with Thursday's protest focused on lobbying the Mez owners to drop the event from their schedule. Leeds University Union's FEMSOC headed up the demonstration, which union officials say was attended by over 100 people. Mostly students, they marched from campus to the Mez itself at the time that club-goers were just arriving. And the reason, it's all in the wake of ongoing controversy surrounding the night, appearing to promote rape in one of its videos marketing Tequila. As exposed by the Leeds student newspaper, the video titled "Fresher Violation," in line with the name of the night, was posted on the event's social media pages. It's now been removed, along with a later edit of it, but quotes include the presenter asking, "How are you going to violate a fresher tonight?" and a student's response, "She's going to get raped." Campaigners say that sort of language in any form is unacceptable.
This isn't an acceptable way to promote themselves as students, and clearly it's not what students want, and it's not what they think is okay to do. And we'd like Mez to stop hosting Tequila, and we'd like to say to the rest of the clubs in Leeds that this isn't okay.
It was Freya, along with Emma Friend, LUU's Equality and Diversity Officer, that took an almost 4,000 name-strong petition to the Mez's management on the night of the protest.
We'd like to hand you this petition.
Right on.
It's got nearly 4,000 signatures to ask you to stop hosting Tequila. It would be really great if you did that, because they've done this difficult thing and there's a lot of anger.
I understand there's a lot of anger. We do wholeheartedly support what you're doing.
That's great.
We've got a long-standing relationship with Tequila. It goes back about
Maybe
7 years.
To break it.
They have made an awful mistake, and
I'd say
there's no
pretty
excuse in it.
unforgivable.
So it's pretty much unforgivable.
Of course, it must be noted that this isn't the first time a club night has made reference to sex or even exploitation. Protesters argue this is a much more specific issue, but with a growing general attitude, however right or wrong, towards sexual references in clubbing marketing, perhaps Tequila will just become one of many outlets blurring lines.
Basically, the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen, a joke made in a cube, doesn't mean a protest, just mean opinionated, self-satisfied bunch of, not to swear here, but a bunch of losers, to be honest.
I think it's a bit over dramatic, really.
FEMSOC hope that last week's protest will make those lines much more solid, though, and plan to keep campaigning for the closure of Tequila at Mez. Andy Seddon, The Essential.
The Essential was unable to get a comment from Tequila themselves, but in a statement on social media pages, Lucas said, "We do not condone sexual exploitation in any
Streetlights. 92,000 brighten up our roads here in Leeds, but plans are underway from the City Council to turn out 8,000 of them between the hours of midnight and 5:30 a.m. The project will approximately take 3 years to fulfil its goal, cutting carbon emissions from street lighting by 4.7% and saving Leeds City Council around £1.3 million over the next 10 years. The council held a consultation period between the months of February and April, wherein residents of Leeds were asked to respond to 10 questions relating to the scheme. The results showed that 75% of those that responded agreed with the idea of switching off streetlights to save energy. A quarter of residents are likely to stay out after midnight at least once a week, although 71% said that street lighting helps reduce their fear of crime. However, only 1.78% of those that responded were under the age of 24. Students alone make up 9.96% of the population, which is 5.5 times more than represented in the survey. The question on the minds of many students, though, is where will the project be taking place, and how will it have impact on personal safety? The council say the project will start in the outer areas of the city region and gradually move inwards. Initial areas include Garforth and Swillington, largely outside of typical student population areas. But if the test areas go well, could the scheme eventually affect student-centric areas such as Hyde Park and Headingley?
There will be, yeah, and we will be doing some, but it won't be our area of first focus. And I kind of think that's at the back end of the scheme, simply because there are kind of more concerns. And although I think a lot of the concerns that have come out have been fairly unrealistic, I think we do have to kind of take into account that people have different worries in certain parts of the city. We're not going to get to the point where all lights are off anywhere. The technology doesn't work that way.
Leeds University Union are campaigning heavily to make sure this doesn't happen. Councillor Lewis couldn't confirm nor deny the status of an agreement protecting all student areas, but the union state that one is already being drawn up. However, student advice about keeping safe still remains the same.
One of our key messages we run through our safety project called Knowledge is to stay to well-lit areas and try to avoid walking home alone. Also, it's best not to text at night because you draw attention to yourself, and again, burglary can be quite opportunistic, so if you don't advertise what you have, they can't take it.
So take a street like this in the heart of a student area. A street like this up in Adel or Wharfdale would be in darkness after midnight. Now it's up to student exec and council leaders to ensure that students aren't left in the dark with ongoing progress. This is Dave Tipping reporting for The Essential.
Last week saw the result of the Hall Exec election on campus, with over 20% of students voting in their halls. But as we found out in last week's The Essential question, many students don't know who or what the Hall Exec are. We caught up with some of the team from Charles Morris and started by asking new president, Johnny McGuigan, what he planned to do about the issue.
The biggest thing about being a president at the minute is actually just getting out there and talking to people. So there are loads and loads of people out there. I mean, Charles Morris's hall has over 650 people here. And I've probably met about 200 of them so far. So one of my big things to do at the moment as president is probably just getting around and talking to people. So, you know, actively encouraging and basically making sure that there's a voice out there for students to be heard.
Lucy Reid is the new events rep and says that she hopes that she is able to help and represent everyone.
I'd hope so. If not, I'm welcome to suggestions from all the people who are living here. So whatever they want, I'll try and accommodate.
Lucy has some big events planned for the year.
Well, everyone's keen on having a big summer ball to finish off first year next year. So everyone's keen on that idea. So we should do one of those. It's a bit late for a welcome party, but we didn't officially have one. So perhaps organise something like that. Christmas ball, maybe. Those kind of things.
But there are serious decisions to be made, and the Hall Exec are clear that they shouldn't be taken lightly.
Hopefully people in our halls, as they've voted for us, will feel that they can kind of hold us accountable to that. So it's definitely important for us to make sure that not only do we represent them, but also we kind of actually actively engage with them and make decisions for them that they would kind of want us to do.
You can find out more on all of the Hall Exec online at luu.org.uk. Jessica Todd, reporting for The Essential.
Last week we began introducing your student exec and their roles in the University Union. There are 3 remaining positions to get through. First this week is Frankie O'Brien.
Hi, I'm Joel Ryan, and you're watching The Essential. Right here, we're with Frankie from the exec. We've managed to pull him out of the office for today. So tell me, Frankie, who are you and what do you do?
So, as you said, I'm Frankie, I'm your community officer.
And what does that role mean?
So I represent students as residents of the wider Leeds community, so any issues from transport, housing, recycling, and also local representation, they can come to me to talk about.
How are you finding it so far this year?
It's been great. There's a lot of different kind of areas to get involved in, so I love the variety in my role.
Fantastic. So, big topic already is housing for next year in terms of our fresher students. What advice would you give to them? When's the right time to start looking or start thinking who you're going to be living with?
I'd say the absolute perfect time to start thinking about it is next year. To even consider it now is really ridiculous. You don't really know who you want to live with, and you should also just be enjoying the beginning of first year. We found, we've done research, and people who sign in June pay £8 a week less in rent on average than people who sign in January. Also, students need to know that they are consumers in a market where there's a big surplus of housing. There's about 5,000 empty bed spaces every year. So they get to ask landlords to have summer rent or to do renovations, and that's all something that the landlords can ask and can actually give them.
Oh, fantastic. What was your personal experience with housing, community and all that stuff, and how does it relate to your job now?
Well, I was really interested in kind of the local representation side of actually getting involved and people coming out and voting. So I've always been quite involved in that. And last year I was actually a contract checking volunteer, so I looked through people's contracts and made sure they weren't getting signed into dodgy contracts or didn't know exactly what they were doing. So that kind of empowerment side and students as renters is kind of the key thing that I really like and want to focus on.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you very much for coming to talk to us. How would students contact you if they want to get through to you?
Well, there's lots of different ways. They've got our office always has an open door policy. You can find us on Twitter. We also write blogs on regular different things, so that's always a good way. And we can also send out mass emails, but we're also available by email.
What was the Twitter?
So my Twitter is just @FrankieO'Byrne.
Oh, fantastic. And you're just upstairs in the union.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Emma Friend from the Executive Committee. Emma, how would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Emma, I'm the Equality and Diversity Officer in the union.
What's your role for the Executive Committee then?
So I basically work to represent students, and it's about sort of making sure that the union and the university are sort of accommodating to everybody, and sort of about making sure that we break down the barriers and celebrate people's differences as well.
What have you done so far?
Well, I've been organising Black History Month, so we're in the middle of it at the moment, and that's had lots of really good events and stuff. It's been really successful. And we've got our finale, which is the cultural showcase happening on Saturday.
So how can people get in contact with you?
They can get me on my email. I'm very good at answering my emails, so that's on the website. It's e.friend@Leeds. And I'm actually getting quite a lot better at my Twitter, so I'm Friend for Equality on Twitter. Yeah. And Facebook actually, mfriend LUU. So any of those. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Marina. I'm here with Alice Smart, our Education Officer. So what is your role on Exec?
Okay, so as you said, I'm the Education Officer, so I sort of deal with anything relating to the academic side of student life. And on top of that, any policy that students submit to the Better University Forum, it's my job to make those changes happen.
What have you been doing since September this year?
One of the things I've already achieved is getting 24-hour libraries during exam time, which hopefully is something a lot of students will appreciate when exams come around. Another thing I've done is I've been part of writing a new partnership agreement with the university libraries. So now they've got sort of in writing that when they're sort of making changes, a big part of what they're doing is sort of basing it on student demand, and they're working with students and with the student union when they're sort of making decisions that affect the library and effectively affect students.
What are your plans for the rest of the year?
A few things I'm working on are trying to get lectures recorded. So one of my big manifesto promises was getting lecture podcasts. So that's something I'm working with the university on at the moment.
A fairer system of postgraduate loans and bursaries. I think that's sort of a big issue for postgrads at the moment and for undergraduate students who are thinking of staying on. So that's something I'll be working on.
And finally, how students can contact you.
Generally, I will be in the office most days. Even if not me, one of the other exec officers will be here.
Excellent, thank you.
Victim to burglary. Despite the efforts of the university, I'm pleased to inform students to lock up properly. We asked whether they knew if they'd done so that morning. Johnny found out during this week's essential question.
Hello and welcome to this week's essential question. Let's join me as we go and ask people whether they're sure whether they've locked up this morning.
Very
sure. Locked all your windows and doors?
Yeah, certain. Yeah.
Had no experience of being burgled?
No.
Did you lock all your windows and doors?
I think so, yeah.
Congrats.
No.
You didn't?
No, I forgot.
You forgot? Does that mean your windows and doors are open?
I don't know.
No, but I did leave my house with some electricians in it. That was it.
Are you sure it's safe?
I hope so.
A little bit more of a dodgy response there. Would you leave your house with some electricians? I don't think I would. How sure are you whether you've locked up this morning?
Locked up? Well, I wasn't at my house this morning, so not very sure.
Yes.
Have you had any experience of burglaries or anything?
No, because I am fastidious about locking up.
Excellent, fantastic.
No, I definitely did.
You definitely did. Well done, congrats. As simple as that. There you go.
Yeah, because we have police actually tell us all the stuff to do.
Oh, really?
I do it all the time, but I'm pretty sure I locked up.
Pretty sure?
I'm not sure.
Oh, you're not sure? Oh. Good luck. Most people think they've locked up. Some people think they might have left their windows and doors open. If you have anything, if you've left yours open, or even if you've been burgled, we'll find out a little bit more about that later on. In the meanwhile, back to you in the studio.
Hello and welcome to Weather on The Essential. Today is Wednesday. We're going to have highs of 15 degrees and lows of 8. You're going to need your bollies because it's going to be raining and it's going to be cloudy all day. Tomorrow is looking up a little bit. Hopefully there shouldn't be any rain, but highs of 14 and lows of 11. Friday, you're going to need your rain max, I'm afraid, because it's going to be heavy rain, cloudy, highs of 15 and lows of 10. And over the weekend, once again, more rain, highs of 15 and lows of
What's going on all around your union? It's essential.